if you're studying art online like I am today, I'm going to share all of my organization method for my files, for my notes, and for my physical things like my art materials for my classes. I just want to take a second to thank New Masters Academy because they offered to support some of my content. What I'm going to share today can apply to any online school, any online class or program, but all of the examples that I'm going to share with you are from New Masters Academy because these are examples from my actual notes that I've been taking for a year and a half now. There is a terrible misconception about organization that some people are organized and some people just are not. I think it's not something that you are, it's something that you do. People who are organized, they just have a habit of organizing themselves, and people who are quote unquote not organized, they just don't have it. So it's something that you do, it's something that you can improve at, and today I'm going to give you all of the framework that you can adapt to your own situation, to your own preferences, and it will still require some effort, some maintenance. It's not just happening by itself, you have to do it, but I think it's going to eliminate all of the guesswork and all of the hard work for you. Ideally, what you want is that organization becomes a routine, it becomes a part of your day and of your life, and that's something that I will get back to at the end of the video. What I wanted to talk about first is shortcuts. All of these shortcuts are ways for me to reduce the friction to get to work and to get to my art studies more easily. I like to stick to simple tools, simple routines, and have everything figured out in advance. That way, when I get to my studies, I know where my tools are, where I'm going to take my notes, where my class is, how to easily access it. And on that note, my first shortcut is going to happen here. We are on Firefox and we are on the homepage of New Masters Academy where I take my classes. And as you can see, it has a lot of things. I can see some things here that I'm not necessarily interested in when I just want to log in to continue the class I was taking. So what I do is actually I almost never go to this page. Here you can see my bookmarks, and I have a folder of bookmarks called classes, and in here I have the direct links to the classes that I'm taking. So I'm currently taking Introduction to Inking, and these are some other classes on the website that I like to have easy access to. That way I just open my browser on a new tab and I go directly to the class that I want to take, and it's going to take me to the lesson that I was at. I also have a few other bookmarks here. I have my forms to request certificates, to submit my assignments. I have the trackers for the completion of assignments, just a few things that if you're a student at New Masters Academy, you may want to bookmark to keep at hand. My next shortcut is about your materials. As you can see here, you have a materials tab and you have a list of materials for the class. Let's open this one up. Here I have a list of all of the materials that I need for the class. What I like to do is that usually I have some of them already in my art material stash, but when I start a class, I like to put all of the materials required for the class in a specific place and keep everything together. That way, when I get to work, I know exactly where to grab it and I know that I have everything in the same place, rather than having to search for something, especially if you haven't been working on a class for, I don't know, maybe a week or a couple of weeks, and you've been moving things around and you don't know exactly where everything is. Sometimes it's harder to get back to it. That way I know where my tools are, I have everything in the same place. If you can, I advise that you use something like this, just a jar, that way it's vertical and you can just grab things. You could also use a pouch. Every class is going to require different kind of tools, so sometimes it's not going to fit in this, but yeah, just keep it easily accessible, keep it visible, have a place where you know that you're going to store your assignments when you're done. If you're not working in a sketchbook, if you're working in a sketchbook, obviously you can keep your sketchbook with your other class materials, and yeah, just have it all bundled up and ready to go. And going back to digital organization, my last shortcut is to have a place where you can keep files that you know that you want to access. So actually, this is something that I do in Apple Notes. Here you can see that I have a lot of folders for all of my notes, and I use some emojis sometimes to make things more visible. I have an NMA for New Masters Academy folder, and here I have a lot of different notes, but one important one that I keep is the course guide. It's a document that you can download on the New Masters Academy website that is going to give you the recommended order for the classes, and it's something that I know I want to refer to often, and I don't want to have to search for it to download it again. So this way it's in my New Masters Academy notes folder and I have a note for it, and yeah, I just know where it is and it's easy to find. You could also just print it and have it in your studio. That's another option. Now let's talk about note organization. Usually I like to give you advice that you can apply with different tools, so digital or traditional, no matter what you prefer to use. In this case, I think that digital is better than traditional. So for my notes, for my classes, I use Apple Notes again. I use very simple features, so any kind of notes app is going to work well for this. All you want is to have some kind of folders so you're able to organize your notes. So I am in Apple Notes, and you can see that I have a folder here for my classes. If I open it up, I have again different folders to keep all of my classes organized. You don't necessarily have to do it, especially if you're just starting. Maybe you don't have that many notes in there, but I have a lot, so I made these to keep them organized, because otherwise it just gets overwhelming and I want to find things very quickly, as you may have understood by now. Now, the advantage of digital for this is that different classes at New Masters Academy and any website, I'm sure, are going to call for different kind of note taking. Usually it is advised that while you watch the video lessons, you draw along the instructor and you take notes, and so a physical way to take notes is better. It's better for information retention, for memory, and to stay active during the class. But yeah, personally, I just prefer to type. I usually don't take notes on paper, but if you do, having Apple Notes instead of just your sketchbook is going to allow you, as I have done here. This is my note for the first week of constructive head drawing with Steve Houston. I had been taking some notes on paper, and in order to keep them in the same place and being able to refer back to them very easily, I just added some pictures of my notes to my note, and I also have some screenshots from the demonstration and other things that I'm going to get into. So the big advantage is that I'm able in the same place to have some typed notes, any kind of paper format, paper color, medium that I want to use to take notes on paper if I want to do so, and I also keep some PDFs and a trace of the assignment that I submitted. So let's just go back to the overall organization that I have here. I have a big folder for my classes, in which I have my templates, and I will get back to this. And then I have one folder for each class. So Introduction to Inking is the class that I'm currently taking, so that's why it's easily accessible here and it's not in one of these folders. Then inside my class folder, I have one title note, I would say, where I like to keep some basic information about the class. I have the link of the class, the teacher, when I started and finished it, just because it's something that I like to keep track of. I also like to paste the description of the class here. This is completely optional, you don't have to do this. The reason why I'm doing it is because it's allowing me to put a lot of useful keywords in there, and then if I want to search for something, having it here maybe will make it easier for me. It hasn't happened yet, but I know maybe in 3 years, if I want to search for a specific skill around inking and see if I have some notes about it, I can just do this and search for curvilinear lines or whatever, and it's going to send me to my note on week 2 on Introduction to Inking. Okay, let's go back to this big note. So on my title note, I have the description. I like to have the lessons. Here what I've been doing is that I have a checklist for the lessons. That way I'm able to check off the lessons once I have completed the assignment and received positive feedback on my assignment. This is again just something that I like to do, and instead of just writing the title, I have some links to my notes. So how you make a link in Apple Notes is that it's a new feature, that's why I'm talking about it. You do a Command K and you type the title of your note, so yeah, and then you can add the link to the note you want to link. So yeah, these are just some links because I like to go the extra mile. Then I have a section here for important notes. This is at the end of the class if I want to review some things, if I want to condensate the knowledge and have some important notes, this is where I would do it. I have some documents in here as well. I have the materials list and the rubrics. I don't like to have to search for them if I want to refer back to them. So what I do is when I start a class, I set up this entire folder with all of my notes, and it's quicker than it looks, I promise. And I download all of the PDFs that I know I may have to refer back to as I'm taking the class. So that way I know exactly where it is and it makes things a lot easier for me. So I like to have the materials list. You can find it here under the materials tab in your class. And I also have the rubrics. Right now it is under the assignments tab and you can find it here, Introduction to Inking rubric, and I keep both in there. Then I have one note per lesson, and this is what it looks like. I have the title of the lesson, then the description. Again, this is for easier reference for later if I want to use the search bar. Where you find it is when you go to course overview here, you can see the description of the lessons here on the side, and you can also see how long each video lesson is going to take. So I just paste it here. Then if the lesson comes with some reference images, I put them here just because that way I have a visual thing here, so I see what the lesson was about. Then I have my notes. It's very short in there. Maybe I can find a week where I was taking more notes. So I have my notes, and then I have a section about my assignments. It's the most important section for me because I want to have a very quick and organized way to see what I did for my assignments and also have a quick way to access the assignment PDF. So the assignment PDF is the document where you can find all of the information about what you're supposed to do for an assignment. And at New Masters Academy, you can download it when you are in your lesson. Under the assignments tab here, you can see assignment week 6 PDF. And again, I like to download them in advance and set everything up so I don't have to think about it then when I'm taking the class. So I have the instructions for my assignment, and underneath I keep my submission. This isn't the photo of my drawing, this is the collage that I submitted for the teacher assistant to have my work. And for this week, the assignment was to make a master study. So this is my master study, and I also included the original for reference so that the teacher assistant could give me some relevant feedback. And I keep a screenshot of the feedback that I received. So this is what it looked like for that week. At New Masters Academy, you have two options for feedback on assignments. You can submit for simple feedback where you would have something like this, a written paragraph, or you can submit for what they call video tutoring. And if you do that, you're going to have a video and just a video of the teacher assistant going over your submission. So this was my submission for week 5. I submitted for video tutoring. So usually here I have the link of the video that they sent me. I just removed it because you would be able to access it and it's private, and then some notes that I take watching the video. So what I like to do, as I said, they advise that you follow along the instructor and you take notes on a sketchbook or whatever kind of paper you're using for the class. What I usually do is that I split my screen like this, and so I would have my video here on one side, and I would be able to take some notes on the side right here. It depends on the lessons. Sometimes I'm going to take some paper notes. Sometimes I also like to grab some screenshots. And that's why Apple Notes is really the only tool that allows me to keep everything in the same place. And it's also organized and accessible from all of my devices. So it's just amazing, and I don't have to pay for it. So I love it. As I said, it may look like a lot right now, but I have a trick to make this a little bit easier. I'm going to set up a fake class just to show you how quick it can be. Example class. I just created a new folder here, and here, and then in my classes folder, you can see that I have some very weird notes in there. These are actually my templates for my notes. So what I would do to set up my class is that I would just copy this, paste it here, and that way I can just fill all of the information here. And then I would go back, copy my lesson template. I would pin this note so it stays on top, and I'm just going to remove this and copy just this part. That way it's even quicker. I can just do Command N for a new note, write the title, and then I do Command V to paste it, and I can just repeat process. Then I can again copy and paste the descriptions, which is totally optional. Maybe it's too much for you. I like to do this. I like to be thorough with my notes. The link, very important when I started it, and I would also download all of the PDFs, which is probably what takes the longest, but overall in like 15 minutes the folder is set up for my class, and that way it just makes things super easy for me again. So I have here all of the classes that I've completed. I have my live classes. I also have my classes from the Drawing Foundations module, and at first I was taking my notes in French. Some of it was in French, which is weird. But yeah, I just have everything in there, and I can see all of the assignments that I did for all of the lessons, which is very satisfying to look back on, but also very useful. This was for week 2 of the very first class. And I can also look back on the feedback that I received, and sometimes when you just received feedback or critique on something, you don't fully get it, and when you look back on it later, you understand some things that you didn't get at first. I have a very similar system for my critique notes. So you have this option at New Masters Academy to submit any work, any piece that you're working on for critique, and receive a critique from a coach. How I do this is that I have this NMA critiques folder, and in there the first note is my template. So again, I would copy and paste it to create a new note for a new critique, and then I keep one note per critique. So this one was a critique by Catherine Bobkowski, and this is what I like to write. This is the description that I included for this critique. This is what I submitted, and some notes that I took. If you want, you can just screenshot my templates if you want to reuse something similar. So this is my critique template, and I'm going to show you my classes template. So this is for the title note for the entire class, and this is for each lesson. In every note, I like to keep the assignment that I submitted, and usually an assignment consists of multiple pieces of work that you have to kind of put together in a collage to submit to the teacher assistant, but I also like to have my original files, my original photos of my assignments organized and easy to find. And so I have a little bit of a file organization system, very, very simple. So here are my files. I have an art studies folder here, and in there I have a few different things, but most importantly, I have this folder, New Masters Academy coursework. In there, I have again one folder per class. And what I do here is that at the start of the name of the folder, I include the date with the year and month in which I started to take the class. That way, when I organize it alphabetically, it just stays in the right order, in the order in which I took the classes. So in there, I just keep the original pictures of my assignments in just the high resolution that I took them. And yeah, that way again, I can find everything very easily. It's also super useful for my art journals. And yeah, sometimes I just have everything not named, just put there in the folder. Sometimes when I have a class that is more complex, I have a little bit more organization. Here, for example, for Perspective 1, I had to make diagrams. So I have a folder for my diagrams, and there are many. And I have a different folder for my assignments. If you don't like notes apps, you could also just save everything in your folder here. You could have your assignment PDFs and all of your documents in there. That would work just as well. The most important thing that you can do is not to spend a ton of time setting it up. It is to make sure that you make it a routine, that you make it a habit to maintain your organization system. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Actually, it's very quick. Usually it's more of an investment to set it up than it is to maintain it. But you have to know that when you do an assignment, when you submit your assignment, you just copy it to your notes. When you take a photo of your assignment, you can copy it to your folder directly, or you could have a routine. This is what I do. Actually, I don't save my photos of my assignments in my folders as I go. What I do instead is that on a regular basis, I go through my camera roll and I just take all of the photos of the assignments that I took, because I take most photos with my phone. I don't scan most of my assignments. I just take all of these from my camera roll and I put them in the relevant folders, and then I delete them from my phone. The easiest to create a habit is to make something that I would call a program. That is, if this happens, I will do that. And that way you kind of attach a habit to something that you were already doing. A very cliche example is when I wake up, I go directly to the entrance and I put my running shoes and I go for a run. That would be a way to attach a habit to something that you're already doing. For your art organization, it is when I submit an assignment, I copy what I submitted to my notes. When I finish a class, I make sure that I have saved all of my pictures of my assignments in my folders. When I start a class, I create the notes so that everything is set up for me to succeed in my organization. Another crucial point of organization for your online art studies is to plan for your art studies. I actually made a video about how I block time for my art studies. This is a system that can work with a paper planner, with a digital calendar, whatever you use. So I will leave a link to this video right now. I really hope that this one was useful, and if you liked it and if you're interested in New Masters Academy, I have another video planned. This is the next video that I'm going to record all about my advice for new Masters Academy students. So definitely subscribe so that you don't miss it. Thank you for watching, stay creative, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!